Greetings, Jedi traders. David here of TradingFibs.com to bring you the daily trend for December 10th, 2015. As always, please seek financial advising when trading with your money, as these videos are for educational purposes only. Support your knowledge in the market, see what's going through my head on any given day. Always make sure you have a solid trading plan and always manage your stop when placing a trade. December 10th, contract rollover on the CR Charts platform. Pretty much a no trading day, guys. Waiting for volume to return to the contract. Volume should return by tomorrow, definitely by next Monday, but as we roll into next week, we know FOMC meeting in minutes and quad witching as we head into this pre-holiday session. It was no wonder today's action was the volatility that it was, but let's go ahead and jump in on the ES today. It was all about the ES on our focus. Pre-market session on the ES showed already a bearish, again, this is the March contract, bearish buys to the downside, bearish already in the 51.44. Taking a look at the daily, we already have a bullish neutral as we were coming down to support at the 144. So if there's any question here, again, daily picture in the upper right hand corner on the 3 charts, weekly on the bottom right, bullish neutral as price action approaching the 144 here on a 51.44, and then the excuse me, that's a T3 moving average, I apologize. And then on the monthly here, we have the price action still in a bearish neutral position. So again, kind of split here, bullish, slightly, to the bullish side as we find support here at the 23.6 fib retrace, breaking downside below that 200 period moving average yesterday. We're still on a fib extension up here at the 127%. Let's roll into the big picture for today's ES session as we see the big 2 moves here. A lot of chop, a lot of indecision at the beginning. Again, there were some particular small moves, but when we look for the better probability moves, we're looking for all 4 charts to be in sync. Yeah, if I could tell you from the beginning of the day the market was going to be up and finish up, I would not have to do all this analysis here and go over my charts every day. So I need to go back and look at where were the better setups of the day, what can I do better tomorrow, and here it was. I still maintain in my trading strategy to wait for as many bars to line up in the same trend here in sync, and that was it. That was the 10:39 as we ran to the pre-45 minutes of the European close, and then it was the PM session, and I think we saw on all 4 indices a nice move up here in the afternoon, and there it was, right to the downside. Sometimes we don't need to wait for all 4 charts. If we at least have 2 out of 3, maybe a re-entry. Better possibility was down here underneath the Globex high, but we'll take a look at that in the micro view. So there it is, the whole, that was our entire overnight session coming into today's market as pretty much choppy action, a couple of significant moves. Again, you don't have market internals like your tick count and your AD line. You have to rely on your 20 tick chart. For the ES, it's the 10 tick, and the bottom row here being the 51.44. So some significant moves in particular here. The Euro open, and then another 2 upside, eventually price action coming downside here, giving you some pre-market moves there. All right, let's go to setup number 1 here on the ES. It was right out of the gate, 9:30, ding ding, market AD line that's popping up right there, and boom, right to the downside. So some possibility of a quick grab to the upside, but the better entry was to the downside. Not saying we might get a trend runner. It was obviously, it would be counter trend to the AD line now that hit the pivot. We'll see if it gets support here at the 10 period moving average. But what was in trend and what made this a good entry is, check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right. All 4 charts to the downside with a tick count not in the green but in the red. Price action reject at the 144. That's what you're looking for. 1, 534 crossover. Here's your 10 tick range chart already in the red. And here is your 51.44 in the red with an AD line reject. Looks like a good entry to the downside. But was it to last? That's the question. There's your first 10 minutes of volatility. Again, we had that move down and boom, right back up on you, coming back down, a little bit move up. Small mini moves in here, possibility you might have been taken out if you're trading just on the T3 moving average and the crossover. But what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a breakout play above I'm looking for price action to break above the 50 and the 144. And here we are post 9 minutes of the market open, U.S. market open. We have a T3 moving average crossover on a 10 tick. Again, we're trading off the 5 tick range chart on the ES. Unlike our other indices, which is a little bit higher time frame, we could see here setup number 2 as it starts to break out to the upside. We have at least 3 charts and a breakout above the 51.44. But check it out. Look at that. Price action breaking above the pivot. Remember, it came down, found support here. Well, obviously, market wasn't coming down, so we were headed back the other way, and that's where we went. Right there, look into the Globex high as a target. You got the AD line running up to 750. Remember, that 750 line could be a line in the sand, and we'll see if that hit the wall. 10 tick in the green, 50 above 144. You got a nice price action to the upside. Now you got 4 charts in sync. And what happens? Oh, just shy of the Globex high, unfortunately. So, what happens? Price action breaks downside. Here was that nice run up. We go ahead, draw ourselves a Fibonacci retracement line from the low to the high to see if price action will come back and retrace. If you had gotten out of this trade, which is not a bad trade management, look, once the T3 moving average crosses over, exit the trade, be ready for a move down or maybe a pullback. It's up to you. But indicators were forming to the downside as we saw sell signal here. We have price action breaking underneath the 51.44 at this point. Now, this is all the way down here. I get that. So the question is, did you take the sell signal up here? Mostly unlikely. But you did have a reject at the 750. Somebody keep a note. And you had an early entry on the 10 tick here. As you saw, the solid Heikin Ashi bar. You don't have to wait for the crossover. But to have more charts in sync and in trend, the better the trade. Earlier entries carry higher risk. All right, so here we go. So we have price action breaking the 61.8. So we have a trend change. So not really significant setup, but a nice move. And again, all the way down to the pivot, all the way down to 0. Price action breaking on the 144. So at this point, what am I looking for? Well, this could break back to the upside or simply say, maybe we have what's called another setup to the upside. Who knows? We'll see what happens. All right, so price action rolls down, stalls at the pivot. 10 tick still in the red. Price action breaks back up to the 51.44. Very tight range here. Very consolidated. And we have price action bounce back up. And so we had to say, all right, it already broke the 61.8. So now price action comes back upside. Now what we do is draw a fib retrace from the high to the low and say, all right, maybe we're now in a downtrend, a confirmed downtrend, better entry, right? You missed the original signal up here. I might have just exited the trade and said, all right, I'm going to let this ride down. Maybe it's just another pullback to the upside. It comes down. It pulls back. Now there might be a re-entry. 10.03. We have the daily gap down here. Tick counts in the red. Price action underneath the 51.44. My 10 ticks in the red. AD line is just starting to break. Doesn't make it. Slight move. Again, there was our Fibonacci, right? 50% up. Unfortunately, that entry might have taken your stop out. Depends on where you put your stop originally. Usually I put it at the swing size position. For some people that might be too far away, so they might have been taken out, but not a great setup as price action obviously didn't run to hopefully the daily gap. But again, you go back and you say, look, not every trade is going to be a winner. That's a good setup. Sell signal, price action starting to break the AD line. Now you might want to wait for more confirmation. You're looking for more of one of these candles here. Solid Heikin Ashi bar tail down. But look, the 10 tick is downside. Price action breaking underneath the 144. Now, again, you have 3 charts. Not bad, 75%, 3 out of 4. Unfortunately, sometimes, hey, it doesn't run your way. But it all depends on where your stop is. Again, I'm more comfortable placing my stop at the swing size high, knowing the higher probability of the win of getting the ticks is based on my setup. And my setup was at least 3 charts in sync. And so price action came down, missed that daily gap, bounced back upside. So here we are, setup number 3, failure to the daily gap, but not bad. And what happens? Price action finds support at the pivot, and we're back upside. T3 moving average crosses over on the 10 tick chart up above, and we have a crossover to the 51.44. What do we have? Right here. 4 charts lining up right now. I'm not talking about the original entry. We're looking for a pullback entry at this point. All right, so here's setup number 4, which started down here, but as we moved up along the way, we saw that possibility, right? Now we have 4 charts in sync. So where is that reentry? Well, this square represented here around 1017 was the setup on an earlier chart. And so price not on an earlier chart, excuse me, on a smaller time frame. So here we are, we bounce on the pivot, we bounce on 0, 50 above 144 down here in the lower right hand corner, and we have a 20 tick upside. Remember the 20 tick, I'm sorry, I keep relating to the 20 tick, it's the 10 tick on the ES. The other indices we use a 20 tick. So here it is, the 10 tick chart. Early entry here is a solid Heikin Ashi bar, tail up. 50 above 144, so already indicating somewhat of a trend change, no crossover yet. But all these, what I've squared off here is to indicate that the lineup right here on a pullback on a lower entry chart would have put you in this trade. And so that's setup number 4. Where are we going? Target, there it is, Globex high. And there it is on a smaller time frame. I use a 3-2 flex Renko. There was the original entry. There's the pullback, all 4 charts in sync. Now, whether you were taken out on this because price action ran up, you took a contract off, you move your stop to break even, hey, it's still a winner. But noticing and noting that the 10 tick chart is in sync, 50 above 144, might give you more of a encouragement, for lack of better words, to remain in the trade. With a tick count up here at 700, lots of buying, right up to the Globex high. That's setup number 4 to the Globex high, and boom, above, we break upside. Now, maybe you got out of this trade. Maybe that was your next trade to be into the upside. Again, waiting for another buy sale. Again, this is on a lower time frame. On a higher time frame, let's come back to the 540. There it is. That 540 lining up with the 3-2, 1039. Breaks the Globex high. T3 moving averages to the upside. There we go, all the way upside. Thinking, yep, we got a rally coming on today, right? Lower volume. Contract really hasn't rolled over on the majority of the volume. This thing might run upside. So there we are. Setup number 4 breaks to the upside. And eventually, that was it. Come off the trade. T3 moving average crosses over. What do you notice? We're back at the 750 again like we were earlier this morning. And so there we are, 750, and price action stalls. T3 moving average crossover in the 10 tick. 51.44 drags down and finds support at the 50. So not to say that you would have gotten this move to the downside, but the question is, do we have a pullback? So what we do is we draw a fib retracement. We're finding support here at 61.8. So mindset is I'm ready for a technical setup to the long. That's right. Even though I'm finding that I have 3 charts in the red. Now, if I have a pullback upside, then I'll go ahead and draw my fib retracement from the high to low up here, see how high it's going to come, and then if it pulls back downside, then I'm ready for a move. Watching price action here at the 50 if we're going to cross back to the downside. And that's what we start to get. We start to get a shuffle. So that's what I did. I had my 61.8 bounce here. I draw another fib retracement down here. Price action breaks upside. The question is, are we going to hold at this 61.8? So far, no trade setup. Now, you could take, look, I've explained over and over, especially to trading room members, is you could take the T3 moving average crossover and play that all the time. You don't need to wait for all the charts to line up. But if you want a higher probability trade, you're going to need to be a little bit more disciplined and wait for that setup. So, in the meantime, I'm measuring tools to see where's the pullback and wait for the cleaner entry. So, knowing that I got this shuffle going on here, maybe this thing is headed back upside. What I'm looking at is I see price action holding at the 50. Now I'm upside. So, maybe this is the pullback that I wanted. And again, that's not a bad entry if you went long. Nothing wrong with that. But I want more charts in sync. Even though 3 charts in sync is not bad. That's a 75% positive to the long. And I did bounce off the 10-period moving average on the AD line up here. All right, so 61.8% at this point. You're just at, and actually what you have now is you have European close, so you might want to wait it out. And with some patience, there you go. You got a 61.8% fade, right? Price action came down, found support at that one, came back upside, and now we're fading back downside. Question is now, which direction? Are we going to pull underneath? Are we coming downside? Are we going to break the 50? No setup. And there it is, setup number 5. So we did hold, and I apologize, I have the wrong fib draw on here. It should have left the other one, which was the 50%, but interesting that it was the 23% to the upside. So 61.8 was here originally. If you go back to the other chart right there, there it was, 61.8. I must have erased the wrong picture. It was this line that remained. All right, so let's move forward. So we did get that bounce off the 61.8. There's the setup. T3 moving on. Now what is more convincing of this move to the downside is that price action now below the 50 period moving average and in line with the T3 moving average that all this time was pretty much already moving to the downside. So now red charts, 3 red charts plus price action under 50 leaning to the downside, and now we've broken the 10 period moving average with a tick count negative 186. So not a bad move. Setup number 5. How far did setup number 5 go? Well, if you missed the original entry, you got to the Globex high, retested, there's your second entry. Price action now, be aware, you're coming down to the pivot. Want to maybe trail your stop a little bit closer. Price action bounces here. Remember I said we're looking for a re-entry, so the initial entry was here. You missed that, you look for a pullback. So price action bounces here. You go down to a lower time frame, 320, there it is. You've broken below the Globex high and T3 moving average downside. You found support here. It came back down. Now you're below the 144. 3 charts plus price action on the 144. Good enough for an entry to the downside. And now you go back to your higher time. Remember, we rejected up here at the Globex high. We're back to a higher time frame. Price action running down. Price action obviously here on the 150, not 150, the 50 period moving average on this bottom right chart, rejected. So technical bias. All 4 charts on the right are market internals. Technical bias is to the downside at this point. Makes this a good move. Setup number 5, and we can call this setup number 6 had you been taken out of any of these moves. Now I see what you're seeing. You're seeing that S right there, right? Solid Heikin-Ashi bar, tail down. All right. At that time, it was about 11.58. So what you have to do is you have to look at where was price action on the 51.44, and you're pretty much stuck right there. You really haven't broken downside yet. So that's what might have held you out of that trade. Or you took it, placed your stop at the swing size, came pretty close, and you might have lost on that trade. You might have had to take your licking on that one and wait for a reset up. And there she went. ES to the downside, breaking the pivot. Again, this was the better of the setups. Price actually had broken clearly downside. Pivot, AD line was underneath the 10. And now we have a break downside of the 51.44. So setup number 6 here with a re-entry, or 5 with a re-entry, or setup number 6 to the downside, looking very good in trend here with solid Heikin-Ashi bars, tails down. Well, it wasn't going to be a long one trending day here, and so what we had is we had price action pullback. So there we go, draw our fib retracement. 50%, 2043, price action stalling here at the pivot. Is this merely the end of a move and a pullback upside? There's no move. You might have been out of this trade at this point as price action may have taken your break-even stop out, but maybe another opportunity for a re-entry. So here we are, 10 tick downside, 51.44, reject at the 50. Does it continue? Setup number 6, pull back to the 50. Double pull back to the 50. At this point, you're just like, I probably had it with this trade, and you exit. Again, another re-entry here that wouldn't have gone your way. So likewise, today maybe it'd been best to just sit out, but looking for as many charts in confirmation. And again, this is a solid setup. Nothing wrong with this setup here. At 12:33, come over here to the 51.44, and that's right. You were pointing downwards. And again, that might not have been in our favor. It might have gone, obviously it did, not would have, but it went in the opposite direction. So perhaps there's another technical indicator you're looking at to help support you in that move, but hey, you don't have 100% winners all the time. But remember, the original entry was up here. So the original entry up here, and you're stopped, either you're managing this on the way down or stopped out, usually what I would look for is a breakout of 2039.75 down here to get back into trade. So I might not necessarily have taken the first sell signal. I want to see price action break down underneath there. Might have been the better choice. Or you take it on the first sell signal and you got stopped out. Okay, it happens. All right, so price action does what? Retests that fib level and then breaks to the upside. So here you go. Breaks, buy signal breaks the 61.8 there. AD line now back in the green to the upside. 10 tick, got a first initial signal. Solid Fibonacci bar tail upside. Price action starting to break the 50. Got the Globex high above. And again, first initial entry, not the best of setups here. Again, you just like you can have jumped in here on the signal, I wouldn't necessarily jump on this first buy signal. I'd probably wait for it to at least break the 61.8 or wait for a pullback, which is a better entry right there. Buy signal. Again, you see the Globex high here. You might wait until it breaks the Globex high. And again, at this point, price action above the 51.44. Price action break it upside on the 10 tick. AD line is upside. Tick count in the 412s. And so here we are on setup number 7 on a lower time. Again, that's a lower time frame. And setup number 7 takes off with the other indices. Price action here, breaking above on the AD line. Here it is now. We're on the 10 tick in the green. 50 above 144. 3-2 flex Renko breaks upside. And away she runs. There on a 5-4 all the way upside. T3 moving average. You might have come out of this trade or just simply manage it on the way up. Price action finds support at the 51.44. Again, a lot of pullback entries today, but this really was the move of the session as price action came down on a 10 tick. But at this point, like we've said all week, and I'll show you a chart here at the end, is once you're in the trend, all right, you found the earlier entry here. My eyes are moving over here to the 10 tick chart and asking how long am I going to stay in this trade is based on this chart here and price action holding above the 51.44. So shifting from this chart to over here, again, you can manage your trade on the left-hand chart, but it's the right-hand chart that I'm watching. Yes, price action chopped up and you might have been taken out, but I'm watching the 10 tick and look at that. All this chop, but on the 10 tick staying very stable and price action on the 51.44 still upside. All right, let's say you're stopped out. You're looking for a re-entry. There it is, all 4 charts in sync. AD line is upside. My 10 tick still in the green. 50 still above the 144. And there we go, back upside. There's an opportunity again. 4 charts in sync. There we went, right to value area high. Price action found that support at the overnight high. 10 tick still to the upside. Again, breaking above the Globex high. This is setup number 7, still in trend. And again, a lot of chop. And I wanted to show you here just another opportunity. This is your, looking at a smaller time frame, what's probably the better opportunities to get back into the trades as you approach value area high, faded back, maybe you're out of that trade. Again, another opportunity to get back into the trade. Using the higher time frame to remain in the trend, but if you're stopped out, look for a smaller time frame entry and go back to managing it on your larger time frame. This is all setup number 7. Going back to a higher time frame again, doesn't look pretty, but we're in trend, right? 51.44, find support at the 50. Still upside. AD line is upside, so mindset is 10 tickets to the upside. And there we go. 7 finds that 51.44 bounce. So mindset is technical bias upside. Technical bias upside. And there we go. You found that re-entry at a lower time frame. Break upside. Price action moves. Here we are at 224. Moving our way to the open daily gap. So if none of those other entries worked out for you, but to take you out at your stop and break even, here was a nice runner. And we showed that on the original chart. This was one of the better setups of the session. All 4 charts in sync. AD line upside. But look at that. 10 tick has been in the green. I told this over and over each day in the blog, in the video too, is that watch that larger time frame. Look for the lower time frame for the entry. Let price action get away from you and manage it on the larger time frame. Helps especially with those trend runners. Not saying it works out 100% of the time. Here we are, price action setup number 7, all the way up almost and shy to the daily gap. Draw the fib line, A, B, retrace. How far are we coming down? Everything's still in the green. Maybe this is your point to exit the trade. We go back upside right there. 38% retracement. Price action breaks back upside. Focusing on the 10 tick, still keeping you in. 50 above 144. There we go. Open daily gap. Price action starts to fade. And there she comes down. Now, what might have put you into this trade a little bit earlier than waiting for the sell signal, or maybe waiting for a pullback here, is that you already hit the open daily gap. Nice run. I got a turnaround on the 10 tick right here. Solid Heikin-Ashi bar tail down. I got an AD line that's spilling into the red. I got a tick count that eventually was down in the red down here, and price action now started to come underneath the 50 and the 144. That all happened around this move here. So again, not the setup I would have taken, but for early entry, fading off the top of the day, not a bad move. All right, so price action rolls all the way back down to the Globex high. Again, re-opportunity might not have been in this had you not entered up here, but AD line is downside. T3 moving average crossed over on the 10 tick. Here we see price action tried to get back upside above the 50. Respect that 51.44. It will keep you out of trouble and will keep you in the trend as well. And so she went down to Globex high. Question was that at the end? Well, take a look at that. AD line went right down the pivot. And so you had a re-entry here, possibly. It was the re-entry right here. Price action came down to Globex high. And then we had a pull back up to the Globex high. So you might have gotten in as price action moved under the Globex high on a smaller time frame. But you had to be a little bit cautious here. As price action was coming down here, you would have had to keep note that the AD line was approaching that pivot line again. But again, everything's in the red. At this point, we're approaching the end of the session with about 30 minutes to the cash close. All right, so price action did bounce back up. Here we are with about 10 minutes. Last session, entry as AD line was breaking downside underneath the pivot. What do we keep coming back to, right? That was that crossover all the way from up top. Had you entered, all these charts are showing you are possible re-entry points. There it is, right? There was that sell signal all the way back upside. That was that sell signal off the high. T3 moving average crossed over on a higher time frame. Price action broke downside on the 51.44. T3 moving average kept you in trend. T3 moving average kept you in trend. All these are possible re-entry points. But you do have to keep in mind, where's price action running? It's running down to the pivot. Maybe that's the end. Maybe that's a place I want to take a contract off or move my stop a little bit closer. All right, last setup here is price action down to the re-entry as the last setup with about, again, 15 minutes to 10 minutes to the cash close, running down, breaking down below the pivot, and all the way to the downside. And there she went. Setup number 8. At about 343, break downside below the pivot. AD line is downside. T3 moving average is downside and 10 tick. 50, try to get above the 144 there. Trying to break above that. No luck. And that's setup number 8. And there we are at the close. And that's all she wrote on the ES. So let's again reaffirm. Come back to what is it about the 10 tick chart? What is it about the higher time frame? If we're trading off a 5 tick chart, look to that 10 tick. There it is. Much smoother. Right? Doesn't look like that every day. But when you're in trend and you have the earlier entry, sometimes you can wait for the crossover. Sometimes you don't even have to wait for the crossover. Simply take it on the T3 moving average change. Again, this is a trading strategy in itself, just to wait for the T3 moving average. Every square here representing where the T3 moving average change with a solid Heikin-Ashi bar tail up. So whether it's the change in trend or whether it's using the crossover with the cloud in the background to indicate that the crossover has occurred, use these charts to keep you in the trend. Use the 51.44 in combination to give you a technical bias, and it might just keep you in the trade a little bit longer. All right, so ES, not a great day. Some couple of single moves that had you gotten in early enough, you would have been able to manage on the way up on the higher time frame. Hey, you got stopped out, simply wait for the next setup. But remember, today was lower volume on a contract that is rolling over. So there's our end of the session. Still maintaining a bearish, slight change up here on the 4-hour chart to the bulls, supporting the weekly move here, as the weekly move is in the bullish territory, but daily kind of still in a bullish neutral to bearish position. We found support at the 200-day moving average. We're still at that 23% fib line, and so as we roll into tomorrow, hopefully more volume comes in. But again, pretty slight edge here still to the bears. Again, the top two charts will change overnight with overnight price action. Looking at our other indices here, significant moves on the Russell. Again, the small squares indicating at least 3 charts in sync, but it was the bigger squares here with all 4 charts in sync. Again, not a great day. We had the Globex high here, rejected a couple of buy signals, which you might have waited till the breakout. But again, that afternoon session we talked about, just like the ES, right up here at the highs was a nice move on the Russell. Again, you had to wait a long time for these moves. Here was the YM, a little bit smoother. All 4 charts in sync at 1039, and over here at about 203, between 203, 225. Nice setup to the upside. Again, smaller squares with not all charts in sync, but again, picking up steam here as it rolled down with the ES, NQ, and the Russell. And finally, here on the YM, price action finding some move to the upside here in the morning session. I apologize, that was the NQ, not the YM. That was the setup on the NQ, and here our last chart, the YM to the upside. And again, that afternoon session with a drop down here with the rest of the market, taking that entire move back. Again, whatever line level you had up here to indicate for you that this was the top, that might have put you in the trade, but at least the crossover on 3 of the charts. Eventually, the 51.44 caught up, which made this the higher probability move. So again, I'm going to leave you off on this chart right here. Keep this in mind, Jedi traders, whether it's this chart with the color code or whether it's the chart removing the color code, just the T3 moving average should hopefully keep you in the trade and the trend that much longer. That concludes today's daily trend wrap up. Feel free to stop by at tradingfibs.com or any of my social media outlets to obtain more information. My trading mantra of one simple strategy: any market, any chart, any time frame will keep you disciplined. You can find me every day on Twitter at tradingfibs. And as always, hey, I leave the crystal ball to the experts. I only trade what's in front of me, and on my charts, I leave the bias out. Where do I think it's running? I watch the technical bias, and I trade off those. Have yourselves a Blue Zone day. Good day. Good night, and good trading.